Okay, folks, welcome, guys and gals, and we are getting set for our exam that we're taking on traits and reproduction. And Mr. Lopez put together a video to help you answer as many questions as possible and to provide you with some visuals so that you can successfully answer the questions that are given to you in your exam. You have a total of 18 questions, and this is the first question that is going to be asked. This one refers to 3 tigers that have different parents, and they all have the same protein. And as you can see here, there's a rule that Mr. Lopez made. If it has the same protein, has the same shape. So if you have a tiger that has a tail that has a protein for a tail, and that other tiger has the same protein, then they will have the same tail, or they will have the same stripes. If they both have the same protein for DNA to make that same protein for that stripe, they will have the same stripes. Okay, and as we know, traits are characteristics of a similar type of organism. Okay, so in this case, we have, what can you say about the tiger's stripe patterns? So we have these 4 different options. And let's first make sense out of this. So we're going to drag this out, and we can still sort of read the question there. But the first step is to ask ourselves, do these organisms, do these animals, do these tigers have different parents or the same parents? And here we see that they have different parents. So we're going to want to use this map here, different parents, to answer the question. And we have 3 tigers. And here's tiger number 1. Here's tiger number 2. And here's tiger number 3. And they all have different parents. They all have the same protein. They all have the same protein. And when we think about protein, we think about the DNA that is created to build the similar proteins. So since they all have the same proteins, then what you would do is, what you need to know is that all animals have 2 of them. They have 2 of these genes. And so this tiger has one. And actually, what Mr. Lopez is supposed to do is he's supposed to copy and paste. So copy, paste, and there's 1. And there's 2. Now, why am I only grabbing from the red? I can use red or I can use yellow, but the key is that they all are all the same. They're all the same. And if they were different, then I would grab from the yellow. But I am not grabbing from the yellow, grabbing from the red. And this shows that they all have the same gene for their stripes, for these tigers' stripes. And since they all have the same gene, they will all have the same stripe pattern. They will all look the same. Okay, and I really hope that that answers the question for you for question number 1. Let's head over to question number 2. And this is question number 1. That's question number 3. This should be question number 2. There it is. So this is question number 2. And this question is about goldfish. So let's make way here. And let's look at the question. It says here, 2 goldfish have different parents. So what we're going to do is look for the map that will aid us in figuring out this question. They have different parents. So we're going to use this concept map. We're going to copy it. And we're going to paste it here for question number 2. All right. And there are 2 goldfish that have different parents. We have goldfish number 1 here and goldfish number 2. One fish has a split tail. One fish has a split tail, and guess which fish has a split tail? This one. This fish has a split tail. Their tail is split. And the other doesn't. Nope. It's like a normal looking goldfish. Why do the goldfish have tails with different shapes? Well, that has to do with their DNA, right, folks? So if we go all the way far back and go to this question here, let's drag this. This is an important piece. We're going to copy this and we're going to paste it. And all of you can do this. You will all have access to this. And this will help you in answering the questions and making sense. And it says here, why do the goldfish have tails with different shapes? When you have an organism that looks different, the chances are that they will have different genes. They'll have different genes. So we're going to copy this one. We're going to place it here. How do we show that these are different fish? Well, we can, all we have to do is make sure that they have different genes, different gene colors. So this normal looking goldfish has a regular tail. This one has a split tail, and we're just going to give it a yellow code, genetic code. Yellow genetic code. Different genes, and they will have different types of tails. Okay. If we look at the question, it says here, each goldfish has a different tail shape because offspring from different parents will have different tails shapes, different tail shapes. That can be true. Each goldfish has a different tail shape because they have different versions of the gene for tail shape that connect together to make different tail shapes. Yes, you see here that genes was discussed. Genes were not discussed here in question number A. The goldfish have different versions of the gene for tail shape. The genes are split inside one goldfish tail, but not inside the others. The genes are split inside. No, the genes don't split. You either have one gene or you don't. You don't take a gene and then split it in half. So it would not be C. Question number for option D, the goldfish have different versions of the gene for tail shape, which instruct for different proteins that connect in different ways to make different tail shapes. Yes, if you see the word instruct, you see the word different, they have different versions. These genes are different versions. They instruct to make different types of tail shapes, right? This makes sense. So hopefully you are close to answering that. And if you need to pause the video and go over what Mr. Lopez just explained to you, and hopefully it will make sense. Let's move on to question number 3, which is far back here. It's the goats. All right, these goats that have downward curved horns. So we have these cute goats, and they, we see here its father has upward curved horns, while its mother has downward curved horns. So these horns can be curved upwards, or they can be curved downwards, right, on this goat. So we have a young goat has downward curved horns. Could be this one, right? This goat has downward curved horns. Its father, the father of this goat, has upward curved horns, while its mother has downward curved horns. So let's get a visual on that. Let's see what that looks like. What does that look like? So let's clear the area here. And we need a thinking map. And the thinking map is here. And we can pretty much use any single one of these. Let's use this one here. We're going to copy this, and we're going to paste it here. And now this is the baby goat, and it has downward curved horns, right? And we have a mother and a father. So we can do this several different ways. Here's one way that we can do it. We can click on the text box and downward curved horns. Downward, so D for downward, downward curved horns. That is what DCH will stand for. Downward curved horns, DCH. And we know that the father has upward curved horns. So the father has upward curved horns. So what I'm doing is just abbreviating it and making it easier to understand. So father has upward curved horns. So this goat has horns that go up, not down. And then the mother has downward curved horns. So it's the same as the baby DCH. DCH will stand for downward curved horns. And I'm just making that up, but it makes sense, or I hope it does. And this would be in case the goat had, say a brother or a sister, right? But they don't. So where did this goat get its genes from? Well, it got its genes from its father and its mother. But where did it get its genes for the downward curved horns? From the mother, right? Makes sense, from the mother. The mother also has downward curved horns. In fact, you can take this, copy it, and you can paste it. And the mother also has downward curved horns. And we can even look for, let's find and let's see if we can maybe find a goat with upward curved horns. Upward curved horns. Maybe we'll get lucky. And here's a goat with upward curved horns. Goat with upward curved horns and goat with downward curved horns. And so they produced, right? They reproduced, and they had a baby goat, and the baby goat ended up looking like the mother. And let's now give it genes. Copy, paste. Oops. All right. So what do these genes look like? Well, we know that one of these, I'm going to copy one. I'm going to paste it. There's one, right? And we know that the mother, the baby goat inherited sorry about that. Let's copy and then let's paste. We know that the baby goat inherited at least one gene, for those curved horns that they both have. That makes sense? And we know that the goat also inherited one gene from the father. And this specific gene right here is a downward curved horn DCH, a downward curved horn gene. And it's the same exact duplicate gene, same exact copy, DCH, from the mother. And the father also gave to the offspring an upward curved horn gene. Upward curved horn. Right? And let's now look at the question. The question reads, and let's make sure that this order is to the front so we can see. Which of these statements explain why the young goat has downward curved horns? The young goat inherited one copy of the gene for horn shape from its mother. Inherited one copy of the gene for horn shape from its mother and one copy from its father. True so far? That gene combination instructs for proteins that connect in ways that make downward curved horns. The gene combination instructs for proteins that make them in ways that make downward curved horns. So far is true. The young goat inherited one copy of the gene for horn shape from its mother and one copy from its father. So far it's the same as what was written here, right? Those genes connect together to make its downward curved horns. No, they do not connect. The genes don't ever connect. They are isolated. They are passed down and they don't connect and they don't mix. The young goat inherited its copies of the gene for horn shape from its mother and not from the father. That's not true. One copy is passed from the father and one copy is passed from the mother. So we know that's not true. The young goat inherited its copy of the gene for horn shape from its mother and not from its father. That's not true either. So we can say that the young goat inherited one copy of the gene for horn shape from its mother and one copy from its father, and that the gene combination instructed for proteins that connect in ways to make downward curved horns. Okay? So it's safe to say that we're looking at, well, hopefully you know now what the answer shall be. And that's for question number 3. Question number 3. Let's head over to question number 4 and let's see what organism we get now. The wildcat. The wildcat. So we have Shakira. Shakira reads an article about a family of wildcats. One of them had a mutation for tooth sharpness. Which of these statements about the wildcat with the mutation is true? I don't have a whole lot of visuals for this question, but it says here there must have been a change in the wildcat's genes. So in order for a mutation to happen, there has to be a change in the genes. The wildcat must have sharper teeth. There will be no change for the wildcat's teeth. The wildcat must have less sharp teeth. This is quite a tricky one, but it says here one of them had a mutation for tooth sharpness. Which of these statements is true about the wildcat with the mutation is true? If there's a mutation, it may show or it may not show. So in this case, there must have been a change in the wildcat's genes. If you notice here, we've been talking about genes, right? We've been talking about genes. I don't see anything here about genes. I don't see anything here about genes. I don't see anything here about genes. It's very important, that if you should be able to spot the word that we've been learning about. So that's what we have here. Hopefully you know what the answer is now. And we will go to the next question. Question number 5. Question number 5. Question number 5 is about junco birds. Junco birds that each have different proteins in their cells for beak pointiness. They have different parents. What can you say about the birds' beak pointiness? Well, I love Google Drawing, and one of the reasons why is because you can let's look up junco birds and see what they look like. So, junco birds, pointy beads. Cute little birds. It says here they have different proteins in their cells for beak pointiness. So some beaks are pointy and others are not. There are 2 junco birds here. It says there are two junco birds. So let's make 2 birds. two birds. They have different proteins. Did you read that? Different parents. Excuse me, different parents. They also have different proteins in their cells. What can you say about the bird's beak pointiness? Well, let's create a visual here, and let's create a visual here, and let's look at whether they have different parents or similar parents. Well, those two birds, the junco birds, they have different parents. They don't come from the same parent. Copy. And here we go. So let's make this smaller. And I can't erase that for some reason, but it's okay. We'll go ahead and just plant this here and work around it. So we have one bird here, another bird here. They have different proteins. They have different proteins. When we talk about proteins, we have to talk about the genetic codes. And we're going to copy this and we're going to send it over here. Junco birds. Since they have different protein, what are we going to do here, folks? Are we going to make their... We have to give these junco birds, we have to give them two genes, two sets. Do we make them the same, similar, or do we make them different? Well, it says here each have different proteins. If they have different proteins, then we are going to give them different proteins. So we can give them a red and a yellow. And we'll give this junco bird this 2 red. As long as they're different, we can give them any type of combination we want, as long as they do not look the same. Okay. So it reads here. What can you say about their bird pointiness? Let's move this forward, bring it to the front, and they will have the same beak pointiness, because even with the different proteins for beak pointiness, the proteins can connect in the same way. No, if they need to have the same proteins. So we can pretty much dismiss A. For 5B, they will have different beak pointiness, since offspring from different parents will have different beak pointiness. Well, we don't know that to be true. For 5, question C, or option C, they will have different beak pointiness, since their proteins for beak pointiness are different. That makes sense. They have, it says here, for beak pointiness, proteins are different. They will have different beaks. Proteins will connect in different ways. Yes, that makes all the sense. They will have the same beak pointiness, since all junco birds have the same beak pointiness. No, they all don't have the same beak pointiness. Okay. All right, so that clears it for this question, and we will move on to question number 6 later. And I hope that this helped all of you. Go go through the first 5 questions.